Welcome to the world of exploration. Welcome to the world of learning. Let's start exploring. Let's start learning. So, important aspects of governance, transparency, and accountability, e-governance, applications, models, successes, limitations, and potential citizens, charters, transparency and accountancy, and educational institutions, and other measures. Role of civil services in a democracy. What is the role of civil services in a democracy? India and its neighborhood, relationships, bilateral, regional, global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interests, effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests, India's diaspora. All these things are important in international institutions, agencies, and for their structure, their mandate. What are their mandates? What do we mean by a mandate? What do we mean by structure? Everything you need to know when you are appearing for civil services examination. General Studies 3 is also called Paper 4. Now, General Studies 3 is also called Paper 4. Clear? Of the UPSC mains. The major topics covered are technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security and management, and disaster management. So again, it is very important topic. The detailed UPSC syllabus for this paper is given below. Indian economy and issues relating to planning and issues relating to planning and mobilization of resources, growth and development and employment, inclusive growth and issues arising from it, government budgeting, major cropping patterns in various parts of the country, different types of irrigation and irrigation systems, storage, transport and marketing, right? Irrigation and irrigation system, storage and transport and marketing of agriculture produce, and issues and related constraints and technology in the aid of farmers. Then we move on to the next slide. Why is this slide not moving? Then we move on to the next slide. Alright. Then we move on to the next slide. Alright. So issues related to the direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support prices. Public distribution system, PDS, objectives, functions, limitations, revamping, issues of buffer stocks and food security, technology missions, economics of animal rearing, food processing and related industries in India's scope and significance, location, upstream and downstream requirements, supply chain management, land reforms in India, effects of liberalization on the economy, changes in industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth. Moving on to the next slide, infrastructure, energy, ports, roads, airports and railways, etc. Investment models, science and technology, developments and their applications and effects on everyday life, achievements of Indians in science and technology, and indigenization of technology and developing new technology, awareness in the fields of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology, biodiversity and issues relating to intellectual property rights, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environmental impact assessment, disaster and disaster management, linkages between development and spread of extremism, role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges in internal security, challenges to internal security through communication networks, role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges, basics of cybersecurity, money laundering and its prevention, security challenges and their management in border areas, linkages of organized crime with terrorism, various security forces and agencies and their mandate. Role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges in internal security, challenges to internal security through communication networks, role of media and social networking sites in external security challenges, basics of cybersecurity, money laundering and its prevention, security challenges and their management in border areas, linkages of organized crime with terrorism, various security forces and agencies and their mandate. General Studies Paper 4 is also called Paper 5 of UPSC Mains. The major topics covered under it are ethics, integrity, and aptitude. This paper will include the questions to test the candidate's attitude and approach towards issues relating to integrity, probability in public life, and his problem-solving approach to various issues and conflicts forced by him in dealing with society. Questions may utilize the case study approach to determine these aspects. The following broad areas, will be covered. Now, these are the areas: ethics and human interface, essence, determinants and consequences of ethics and human actions, dimensions of ethics, ethics in private and public relationships, human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators, role of family, society and educational institutions in inculcating values, attitude, content, structure, function, its influence and relation with thought and behavior, moral and political attitudes, and social interference and persuasion. Social influence, and persuasion. Aptitude and foundational values for civil service examination. Integrity, impartiality and partisanship. Objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion towards the weaker sections, emotional intelligence concepts and their utilities, application in administration and governance, contributions of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world, public civil service values and ethics in public administration. Status and problems, ethical concerns and dilemmas in government and private institutions, laws and rules and regulations, and conscience as sources of ethical guidance, accountability and ethical governance, strengthening of ethical and moral values in governance, ethical issues in international relations and funding, corporate governance, probity in governance, concept of public service, philosophical basis of governance and probity, information sharing, transparency in government, right to information, codes of ethics, codes of conduct, citizens, charters, work culture, quality of service delivery, utilization of public funds, challenges of corruption, case studies, and above issues, and the above on the above issues. Then essay paper, it is the paper 1 of UPSC Mains. Candidates may be required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep close to the subject of the essay, to arrange their ideas in orderly fashion and to write concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Then the types of question asked are: essay 100 marks, reading comprehension 60 marks, essay writing 60 marks, translation English to compulsory language, example Hindi 20 marks, compulsory language to English 20 marks, grammar and basic language usage 40 marks. The rest of the 7 papers can be written in any of the languages mentioned under the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. Or in English. The aim of the papers is to test candidates' ability to read and understand serious discursive prose and to express ideas in a concise, clear, and correct manner in English and in Indian language concerned. The pattern of questions would be broadly be as follows: comprehension of given passages, preceding usage and vocabulary, short essays. Then Indian languages, comprehension of the given passages, preceding usage and vocabulary, short essays, translation from English to Indian language and vice versa. It should be vice versa. Just correct it. Known as personality test, UPSC interview is the last stage of the examination. There is no defined UPSC syllabus for the interview. Questions are asked from wide-ranging issues. Candidates who qualify the UPSC mains exam will be called for the personality test interview. These candidates will be interviewed by a board appointed by the UPSC. The objective of the interview is to assess the personality suitability of the candidate for a career in civil services by a board of competent and unbiased observers. The interview is more of purposive conversation intended to explore the mental qualities and analytical ability of the candidate. The interview test will be 275 marks and the total marks for the written examination is 1750. This sums up to a grand total of 20-25 marks, based on which the final merit list will be prepared. Clear?